It's Friday, so that means it is time for Mandy's Minutes, and today you're gonna get your bubble burst. That's right, we're gonna talk about the ideas of the housing market bubble and why we are not in one. There are 3 reasons why we are not in a housing bubble and why we shouldn't be afraid of what happened a decade ago happening again this year. In 2020, home values appreciated about 10%, and the current forecast indicates that home values will appreciate yet this year at least 5%. That will mean that in the last 2 years, home values will have increased 15%. That is a big number, and that's got people questioning, are we in a housing bubble, and are we set up to repeat what took place almost a decade ago? Today, let's talk about that and let's burst some bubbles. Right now, our inventory is facing historic lows of 1.9% months worth of inventory. Remember, supply is low and demand is high. Prices naturally increase. This is what has people wondering, are we in a bubble? But we don't think so, because we certainly are seeing that the trends are going up and down, and the market will continue to shift out of this wave. All right, let's talk about the second reason, and that's related to demand. Demand is at an all-time high. Let's talk about why. Well, the lending industry learned quite a bit from their mistakes a decade ago and have definitely made it more realistic. Supply and demand is high, then prices naturally will increase. And a little easier for one to be approved for a mortgage. Also, interest rates are at an all-time low, which is increasing demand or interest to own a home. The largest generation in our country is the millennial, and the millennial is now starting to think about home ownership and having a family, which is driving that buying demand. And the third idea is related to the challenges of the pandemic. And we are definitely seeing that many families outgrew their homes or need something different. That's creating demand. Remember, low. Let's talk about the third idea, and that's related to equity. And during the housing boom, we didn't only just see purchasers on a frenzy, we saw actually homeowners falling into this frenzy as well. Many of them were using essentially the equity that was invested in their home as a way to refinance. We saw a wave of cash out refinances, which enabled homeowners to leverage the equity in their homes at a very critical time. However, as the home prices began to drop, homeowners found themselves with higher mortgages and actually in a negative equity situation. This led them to be defaulting on payments and led that avalanche of foreclosures. All right, today we definitely know that that is different. The banks have definitely taken a much more conservative approach and learned from what happened a decade ago. In fact, we know that about 38% of homeowner occupied properties own their properties free and clear, and that 17.8 million of properties in the United States are actually considered to be equity rich. Actually, we also know that in the fourth quarter of 2020, about 30.2% of all homes that are currently mortgaged in the United States, which is about 59 million homes, all of those homes are considered to be equity rich. We are in a much better situation than we definitely were in 2008 related to equity and home value. All right, so what can we glean from this? What can we take away, and what do we need to know? Well, we definitely know that the supply in the market is at an all-time historic low, that demand is super high and rightfully motivated. We also know that if prices should drop, Homeowners have enough equity to be able to weather the storm, and that is the exact opposite of what took place in 2008. If you would like to know more about your home, its value, and what you could net from its sale, please be sure to contact me directly or check out my website. I'd like to say TGIF, y'all. This is Mandi St. Onge, and thank you for joining me on Mandi's Minutes. We'll see you next week.